Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20, and welcome to episode 51 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I find myself in the end, hunting down more Draconium. Because reasons. Yeah, clearly, we needed more of this stuff. And hey, Mr. Enderman, how's it going? You can teleport. You know, or not, whatever you want. Sorry, Enderman. Hunting down more Draconium, obviously. Found myself another one of these meteors, which, like I said, they spawn every now and then in the end. So if you just kind of fly around for a bit, you'll find one. I happen to find one over one of these end island things. So while I'm here, maybe I should pick up some of this stuff. I don't know if I'm going to need it for anything, but certainly couldn't hurt to grab some, right, while I'm here. Now, if I break the bottom, do I get... I do. I get chorus fruit. I've got 6 flowers. If I break the bottom, do I get the flowers? I'm thinking no. Yeah, you actually have to break the flowers themselves if you want the... And those are the things you plant, right? I know vanilla mechanics. I totally don't know vanilla mechanics. But hey, while I'm here, right? Yeah, neat. I wasn't sure if these end islands spawned by themselves or not. Apparently they do. Pretty cool. Alright, so, quick look around, make sure there's nothing super fancy around here I want. There's some end hives and stuff, that's cool. Ooh, look, it's one of those things. These are things I might want to have, right? End rods, I think you can use them for the halitosis generator and the quantum quarry actuator. So while I'm here, why not? There's those shulker things in here too, right? Shulkers. Shulker pearls useful for anything? Pearl block from Dark Utilities. Don't know what that does. I can make end rods with them. I guess these are just decorative? Yeah. Gives off light. Okay, cool. Now, the shulkers tend to be in here, right? And loots. Loots is cool. I'll take beetroot. I don't think I have any of that yet, do I? I'll take diamonds. I don't know that I need drones, but I'll grab the drones. We can put all this loots away for the time being. One of the benefits to having this awesome ender pouch thing. Oh, cool. There they are. What's up, guys? Those are the things that make you float or something, right? If they hit you. Yep. You know, if you don't have, like, crazy powerful armor. Which I do. I'm just checking this thing out. Because I don't think I've ever actually legitimately explored one of these things. Neat. Alright, I don't know if I need those shulker pearl things. I'm pretty sure I get them as drops if I kill these dudes. Right? You get them as drops. Shulker pearls. They don't seem to be doing too much for me. Oh, hello. They teleport away? That's neat. Haha, look at that. Sneaky, sneaky. Come on, shulker. Open up. Thank you. Still no pearl. Feels bad, man. All I want is a shulker pearl. Oh well. Oh, grafters? I don't know what those are for. Proven grafter from forestry. I legitimately don't know what that is. But if they're dungeon loot, I will take them. Alright, let's teleport home. Boom. So, picked up some more Draconium, obviously. There's a couple things I'd like to do today. I think one of the things I'd like to start in this... Hello, Ender Dragon. I hope there's not an Ender Dragon at my base. That would be bad. Please tell me there's not an Ender Dragon. Come to visit me. Yeah. So one of the things I did between episodes, I was playing with my builder's wand, as you can see. Why is it all, like, smoky and gray here? Alright, like, I'm not even kidding. This is not me, like, role-playing or pretend. Like, this is... No. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna relog. Alright, cool beans. We're back. And there's no more Ender Dragon. Don't know what that was about. Enderman shenanigans. I didn't do it. So as you can see, I've cleaned up some of the base area here in preparation for a new building. I'd like to do some dimensional exploring. So we're going to get started with RFTools Dimensions. And if we search for dimensions, we'll see there's a bunch of dimensional stuff in here. And there's an RFTools Dimensions manual, which we're totally going to take advantage of to learn how to make our own custom dimensions. The reason I want to make my own custom dimensions is I don't want to fly around the end looking for the odd end meteor that I can then grab a few pieces of draconium and call it a day. I want to find huge deposits of draconium that I can get tons of the stuff at once. To do that, I want to create a custom dimension that's populated with lots of draconium. I'll probably want custom dimensions for other stuff. We might make a draconium, we might make like a nether quartz dimension, a glowstone dimension. Like we might make all kinds of cool dimensions throughout the series. And my plan, therefore, is to go crazy, getting lots and lots of good stuff. So, keeping that all in mind, let's get situated. And you are low on empowered crystals. That's weird. You shouldn't be low, because you had like 64 before I left here, but maybe some kind of weird dirt. But it's recrafting them, so that's cool. Canola seeds. Nice. Alright, so we will be back in a minute. Really kind of bothered that that was empty. I don't know if there was some kind of weird bug or something that caused that to empty, because that shouldn't have happened. Weirdness. Weirdness abound. Alright. Yeah, we'll come back in a minute. So, a familiar building structure is formed. Yeah, you know it. So this is probably going to be my RFTools dimension building. This is where we're going to do a bunch of dimensional work and should be functional for us for now. I think I've determined my plan will be that I'm going to like get all like the different things I want to have set up and running in my bases. And then at some point in the future, we will wind up doing a nice and fancy and decorative base build. For now, we'll just have kind of what I'm doing here, right? Like multiple buildings, multiple structures, different things. And then, like I said, as things proceed, right? Like, and we get to a higher tier level of things, we'll probably do like a whole new base build, and we'll try and make it look really cool. But for now, we've got a functional building that should do what we need to do. So let's get a few things. We're going to want, from the RFTools Dimensions mod, boom, 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 a bunch of stuff. So first off, we're going to want some machines. Now, machines are going to be used to create the dimensions and maintain them. One of the first machines we're going to want is a dimensional inscriber, so that sounds cool. We're going to need a bunch of these machine frames. So 3 might be enough. Dimensional inscriber would be cool. Dimension builder, sure. Let's get ourselves a dimension editor. That sounds... I don't know if I need an editor yet. Dimlet workbench. I do think I'm going to need one of those. Do we have Dimlet parcel. We have one of these that we picked up somewhere. And that got us a bunch of cool stuff. I'll tell you guys how those work in a little bit. But I think we definitely want the Dimlet workbench. So we're going to need a bunch of gold nuggets. Let's get like a new stack of them ready and handy. What else do I need for a Dimlet workbench? 2 crafting tables. And we're going to need, I think that's about it for now. We'll probably need more stuff in a little bit. The other thing we're going to need is, from Draconic, I wouldn't mind an energy relay crystal and another one of these wireless energy crystals. And the reason I want the wireless energy crystal is so that I can power these machines. And we're going to do it in much the same way we did the Draconic room, right? So let's pop over here and get this stuff set up. One more thing I decided I wanted to grab while I'm here is one of these guys. It's called an empty dimension tab. This is where we're going to actually encode our dimensions. So let's get started. One of the first things we're going to need is a dimension builder. Okay, this is what's going to power our dimensions. All the dimensions created with the RFTools Dimensions mod require RF power to run. If you run out of power in a dimension, terrible and awful things happen. Don't do that. Okay, we'll talk about what happens later. The other thing we're going to need is a dimensional inscriber. The dimensional inscriber is basically how you create your custom dimensions. And this is where you can specify all the attributes of the dimension that you're going to be creating. If you want a purple sky, you can have it. If you want orange trees, you can have it. If you want, you know, lakes of oil or lakes of apple juice, like the sky's the limit, right? Like you can literally customize almost any attribute of a dimension. And you do that with these things up here called dimlets, okay? All these dimlets will specify all the attributes of the dimension. There's a lot of them. And you create these dimlets using this guy, a dimlet workbench, which also needs a little bit of power. And basically, here's all the dimlets you can make. You can specify things like the biome, and you can see all the biome types listed available there. All the different types of liquids. So if you wanted molten steel lakes, you could have it, no problem, right? You can specify different materials, right? So if you want, I don't know, a world made out of willow wood, not a problem, totally doable, right? Lots and lots of materials. The materials tab is probably the longest one because those are all the different blocks that your worlds can be made out of. And you can also have other things in there, like orbs and ravines and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then beyond that, you can specify mobs, like what types of mobs might be allowed to spawn in there. You can specify the sky attributes and things like what types of moons and what types of planets are floating in the sky and cloud colors and night and all that good stuff. You can specify structures that exist, like fortresses and dungeons and temples. You can specify terrain type. So if you want like a perfectly flat world, totally doable. If you want a completely empty void world, definitely doable. All kinds of normal stuff. You can have different features like canyons, right? Caves, lakes, maze. And then you can specify time. And then there's digits. Digits are pretty cool. And then there's also effects. You can specify different effects. So if you want like positive or negative effects in your dimension, those are also possible. Special, some of these are craftable, some of them are not. There's also controllers. These things are pretty cool. I think those are the biome controllers, right? You can specify things. And then weather. Pretty crazy. Large list of things you can do to customize your dimensions. The numbers that I talked about a moment ago, by the way, we'll talk about that. It's a little bit complex, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So we're going to need energy relay crystal, one of these dudes, and we're also going to need wireless transmitter and range. I'm like right on the edge of my wireless transmitter range. So this is basic wireless energy crystal, right? We're going to specify you connect to this and this. This guy doesn't need power, so that's cool, right? So he's going to give power to those dudes. And then we'll have our relay crystal up here. And then you are going to link over to this guy. And with that, we should be getting power flowing into our machines. Nice. Look at that. Now this guy holds a whopping 10 million RF, so be prepared for that. It's pretty crazy. And the amount of RF usage is dependent largely upon how complex and how crazy you make your dimension. So if you make a dimension out of diamond blocks, it's going to be very expensive in terms of RF per tick to maintain. Keep that in mind. So if we pop down here into our basement, you can see we just, you know, crushed our RF usage, right? Like we're just killing it because it's filling up that internal buffer. It's kind of still running. 10 million, and don't forget we have these guys, which each hold 4 million, right? So we just asked for 18 million RF to fulfill the needs of this room, but that's all good. So we've got our dimension builder. This is what's going to power our dimension, which by the way can be toggled with a redstone signal. We've got the dimlet workbench. We don't have a lot of dimlets to work with. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create a totally random dimension. And we're going to travel to that dimension and we're going to explore. And through exploration of that dimension, we will find more dimlets. Now you also get dimlets from killing Endermen, but I've not been having a lot of luck with that. We've got this thing going, which is totally attracting the Enderman right there, right? And they're getting hit with that cool sword. And to be fair, come on, guys. The sword is probably broken right now. But it wasn't broken before, right? Yeah, he's totally broken. We need to repair that guy. Item repair, go. But look, I just killed a bunch of Endermen. I didn't get any dimlet drops. So I don't know what the chances are, but they're pretty low. So let's create a custom dimension and explore it. That's probably the best way. So to do that, we place our empty dimension tab inside here. This is where we could specify all the attributes of a dimension. The trick is, we're not going to specify any attributes. We're just going to leave it blank. What that means is the dimension will be completely and totally randomized. There will be no attributes specified, right? And we'll call it diredim1 and hit store. Boom. We've now got what's called a realized dimension tab. This is the actual dimension. We now literally just create a dimension that's totally randomized and we can travel to it. Before we can travel to it, we have to build it. There's a creation cost and a maintenance cost, right? The creation cost is how much energy it costs to actually create the dimension while it's being created, and the maintenance cost is the RF per tick once the dimension's been created to maintain it, to keep it up and running. This maintenance cost can get really big once you start creating some customizations. For now, it's not too bad. So we pop this dude in here, and it's creating. Once this hits 100%, the dimension has been created and stabilized, and it's ready to be traveled to. The Realize Dimension tab itself stores a huge amount of power inside of it, like really huge. So be prepared for lots and lots and lots of power coming in. At some point, it's going to stop filling up its internal buffer. I forget what the current value is. It might be 10 million RF that it stores. I don't know. I'm not really sure. It's a lot, regardless. So every time you create a dimension, it's going to be expensive. But once that dimension is up and running, you'll be okay. And I mean, luckily we have this thing down here to help us out. But even so, like, wow, we are hurtins for some power right now. Let's get some redstone. I could manually fill this stuff up, right? And just help a little bit. Help with our power gen. We're still struggling. Look at that. That's insane how much power we're draining right now. But it's all right. Like I said, this thing will... Oh, there we go. 4 million RF. That's what it is. Cool. So maintenance cost, we're currently... Looks like 135 RF a tick. So, I mean, it's not bad, right? It's really not draining that much power. And this thing will fill itself back up pretty quickly. I'm guessing we're waiting for these guys to refill their internal buffers. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. Cool. All right, let's go visit that dimension, shall we? So all we have to do is go over to our teleporter, and you'll notice Dire Dim 1 is now available. The way RFTools Dimensions works is during world generation, it creates a matter receiver in the 00 coordinate of the world, so you can travel to it. We're going to dial it once. Neat. Make sure you have a way to get home before you go there. Whether it be a charged porter from RFTools or an advanced dislocator from Draconic Evolution, there's no way home, so bring one. You can bring a matter transmitter if you want, but because I have 2 ways to get home, I'm going to be fine. Cool? Let's go visit that dimension. Dun 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 dun! Brand new dimension created. What's it look like? Not so hot, if I'm being honest with you guys. Let's see. We're currently in... interesting dimension. Cool, 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 cool. So not terrible. Oh, look. Here's one of the buildings I was telling you guys about. The nice thing about finding a dimension like this, which I guess is kind of cool, is the buildings are easy to track down. These are the dimension buildings that I told you about. They spawn randomly in dimensional areas. You'll get dimlet control circuits and dimlet parcels in them. And you'll also find these things on the wall. Cool. So grab them when you can. So these things that are on the wall are actually already created dimlets. So Effect Hunger 2 and Sky Yellow Fog and Extreme Hills biome, right? So we just found some dimlets. We can use these to create custom dimensions. The other stuff that you get here, dimlet control circuits, these are used to craft dimlets. So these are crafted components. There's 6 pieces to it, and we'll take a look at it in a little bit. And dimlet parcels you can open up, and you'll see you'll get some cool stuff. Neat. My other recommendation when you go here is make sure to have a way to send your items home, because you're going to get a lot of junk. I mean, just no question, right? Lots and lots of stuff is going to show up. You're going to want to deal with that one way or another. So what I'm going to do for the time being, for a few minutes off camera, because this is going to be a little bit boring, is go find some stuff, right? We just found a Hard Rain Wither Dimlet, Effect Dimlet No Gravity. I have not seen that one before. That must be new. That's kind of cool. And Lavender Fields biome. And then we found some other stuff in here. So, yep, long story short, go explore these buildings that are generated. Luckily, they're not too uncommon. Like, they're not super common, but they're not super uncommon either. I got Material Dimlet Dirt and Coal Ore. Nice. And Sky Dimlet Ender. So we can have a dimension that looks like the end sky. Pretty neat, right? And then send all our stuff home. Cool. So we will come back in a minute after I've explored this dimension. It's an interesting looking dimension, nothing too out of the ordinary. And what's nice about it is the fact that we've got all this cool stuff easily attainable, because the buildings that I'm looking for stand out in the water. So that's kind of neat. All right, back in a minute. So I learned something today. I can one-shot water guardians with this bow and arrow. Assuming I hit them. Also, I got a really cool dimlet. Something that should be actually quite useful for me. One of the things I had planned on working towards was getting dimensional shards, which only spawned in RFTools dimensions. And I just found the material dimlet for that. Dimensional shard ore. Look at the maintain cost. 10,000 RF per tick. So this dimension will need like 10,000 RF a tick to maintain it. So it's going to be an expensive one. Keep that in mind. But I'm continuing to explore and find pretty much everything I can. And we'll be back. I just want to point out the Water Guardian thing and the really cool dimlet that I found. It's getting dark out and the moon is red. That's kind of cool. I guess that was one of the attributes of this dimension, is a red moon. Neat, right? I assume that that's a dimensional thing and that there's no vanilla mechanic that I've not heard about at this point. It's also possible. Continuing to explore. I want to get a lot of these before we proceed. Without exaggeration, your inventory literally fills up like every house or two. Like maybe 3, I would say. 2 to 3 houses is about how long it takes to completely fill up your inventory. Granted, you know, my inventory is not super empty at the moment either, but still, having one of these ender pouches really helps. Prismarine, redwood, nothing too exciting there. The prismarine's kind of cool. Make a dimension out of prismarine. I got glass. You could literally make a dimension where the structure of the dimension, instead of there being stone throughout the ground and dirt, it's grass or glass. How cool is that? I've seen it, and it's very cool. It's a little bit trippy, but it's really cool to see a world made entirely out of glass. Yeah, it's nuts. Continuing to explore and get lots of cool dimlets and cool things. Meadow biome, that's cool. Oasis. Dimlet effect, weather 2. If you want to have weathering 2 every time you visit a dimension, totally doable. So this is really weird. Look what I found. An end portal. Literally just sitting under the ground. Look, like that's the building right there. That's it. Like just this one little building with an end portal in it. I don't know if that's something like dimlety, but that's crazy, right? And teleported home. Nice. So we take a look at dim. One of the nice things about refined storage is that you can search for a specific mod. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We can see all the dimensional stuff. Neat. So we got a bunch of things here, obviously, right? We got a lot of components that we can use to create custom dimlets. We also got a lot of dimlets themselves, and we duplicated a few of them, which is fine. There's a lot of stats to dimlets, and we're going to kind of talk about some of them as the next couple episodes unwrap, because there's a lot of things you're going to want to know about how to craft your own custom dimlets, right? There's this rarity attribute. What's that mean? Rarity 3, rarity 4, etc. And how to craft your own things. Ooh, rarity 5, glowstone. Nice. That's kind of cool. We didn't happen to find, I don't think, I was kind of looking, and I'm pretty sure we didn't, but we didn't happen to find draconium ore, right? No, probably not. But we did, I think, get tendrils, which is nice. Did we get orbs? Probably not. That's cool. So there's a couple things we can do right now. We can create another, like, random dimension, or we can create something else. Let's do another random dimension real quick, because I want to explain a mechanic in RFTools and the reason you're going to want to have or are going to need to have the numbers thing, the numbers dimlet. Where are they? Is this them? Digit dimlet, yes. Cool. Digit dimlets, right? Digit dimlet 0 is crafted very easily. It's a little bit of redstone and paper. Digit dimlet 1 comes from putting digit dimlet 0 on a crafting table. And 2 comes from 1, and 3 comes from 4, 2, etc., etc., etc. Why do we need digit dimlets? Let me explain. So we're going to want a redstone torch right there. Cool. If you create 2 dimension tabs, 2 totally separate dimension tabs, with the exact same attributes placed in the dimension inscriber. In the exact same order, they will point to the same dimension. So you won't get two different dimensions that are exactly the same because they were given the same attributes. You will get one dimension, and they both point to the same one. So if you want to have two different dimensions with the same attributes, you need to change what goes into the Realize Dimension tab. To do that, you just use digit dimlets. It's that easy, right? So you could have, right, you could build out the exact same dimension, you put a digit dimlet 0 in there, and it's different from the one that didn't have a digit dimlet 0 there. And then you could put a digit dimlet 1, you could put a 2, you could put a 1 and a 2, you could put a 2 and a 4, get it, right? So you can have literally an unlimited number of dimensions with the exact same attributes, which is pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make another Realized Dimension tab. I want to check something real quick. Are you... Yeah, what's going on with this? What indeed is going on with this? It feels like my empowered canola seeds are like disappearing every time I'm away from my base, and I wonder if something weird is happening with this setup that's triggering these guys to like drop endlessly or something. The problem is it's not happening with this one, as far as I know. Either that or it's just like refilling fast enough that like I didn't notice. But that's really weird to me. And I kind of want to keep an eye on that, because it means that we're wasting canola. And considering my canola seed problem, I don't like it. We'll see. Anyway, back to dimensional stuff. We'll troubleshoot that. Maybe I'll work on it off camera. I feel like a Realized Dimension tab might not be the worst thing in the world to go ahead and teach this thing how to make. And do you know how to make paper? You do not. What do we have that we can make paper with? Rice and sugarcane. We probably don't have a lot of sugarcane. I should teach it, I guess, the rice method. We don't have a ton of that either, though. So let's just, for now, we'll think of something. I might plant rice or a sugarcane at some point. Probably should get a sugarcane farm going, right? Probably. Dimension. Lots of dimensional stuff. I guess empty dimension tab would be a good thing to search for. So let's create another dimension. Now to create your own custom dimension, all you do is start placing things in this window, right? So we just create a custom dimension, which is, again, completely random. We're not specifying any attributes, but to differentiate it from the other completely random custom dimension that we created, we're placing a digit dimlet in there. So I have no idea what this is going to look like. I should have probably named it. Let's extract, and we'll call it dirdim2 and store. We'll take this out, we'll put this in. It's, again, going to use like a crazy amount of power to charge this thing, but that's okay. By the way, notice that our dimension's still using power at the moment. We're going to have to deal with that. Okay. So let's go visit it, shall we? So we're going to dial up dim2, and we've got a way home, so we're good. Always double check that you've got a method to get home. Okay. Wow. What is a block of amethyst for the world? Holy cow. That's insane. What I tell you about, you can have some weird dimensions, guys. We actually seem to be really high in the world. We're at Y level 128. So this might be some kind of cave-ish type environment. I want to go home and see what kind of energy use this is having. I think the energy use is not going to be off the charts because it was randomly generated. But hey, that's cool. 140 RF a tick, so not bad. We can definitely maintain this. Let's do something real quick that's going to help with our RF usage. At dim, we're probably going to want to teach it to this guy, because we're going to want to have these pretty much everywhere we go. Activity probe. We need dimensional shards for activity probes. Gotcha. So the activity probe is cool. You place that in a dimension, and it can figure out if there's players in it or not. And if there are not players in it, it won't use up power, which is nice. Otherwise, it'll run and use up power as much as it can. So, like, think of these things as little batteries. They have little storage of powers. If we want to go back to this dimension, we're going to need to keep it powered. It's currently got power, but it's slowly losing it. And this thing is currently being maintained. It's using it and immediately being refilled by the dimensional builder. So that's cool. Wow, I want to check out this amethyst world a little bit. What I tell you about, you can get some crazy stuff going on. By the way, keep in mind that you've got a receiver on this end. Receivers need power, and it uses up a bit of the power every time we use it. So think about hooking up power to this or adding your dimensional locator, if you plan to come here a lot, either teleport here with this thing or get some kind of power over to this guy. Let's go, like, digging in here. So, blocks of amethyst from Biomes of Plenty, huh? It's funny. That's funny to me. I kind of, like, I'm curious if this is just literally, it looks kind of like the Nether, and I'm wondering if we got, like, a Nether gen type thing going on. So there's actually, like, caves underworld. I'm hearing, whoa, hello. Oh, this is one of those, Actually Additions caves. Okay, that's cool. Wow. This is a weird dimension. This is a very weird dimension. There's houses out here, which is kind of nice. I should probably explore them a little bit. I was kind of hoping for a certain feature that I wanted to have, but it's all right. We're finding cobblestone and dirt. Those are not exciting. You guys believe this weirdo dimension that I just... It's just so weird looking. Oh, hi, zombie. Didn't even notice. Alright, let me explore a little bit off camera, and then what I'm going to do is come back and we will find out if if I'm right about this being like Nether gen and we're sitting on top of the world of the Nether type structure generation. Alright, so we will be right back. So all I've succeeded in finding thus far is actually Additions caves. So, I don't know, but I'm going home. Because this dimension's creeping me out. It's a little bit too crazy. So guys, I've done something that I haven't done in a long time. I went back to that dimension that I found, the first one that I created, with like the water and everything, and I went mining for a while. The reason I did that is I wanted to find and show you guys dimensional shard ore. Nice. This stuff is rare, but it's only found in dimensions that you create. I mentioned that earlier. Got about 10 of them. Neat. Let's send that home. I'm going to mine for a little bit longer. As you can see, I'm getting hungry. Hopefully I'll find a little bit more. We'll back at my base in a minute if I find any more of this stuff. That's probably enough to get started with what I need to do. Fun fact, when you take damage from hunger, it hits your shield. Look at that. My shield is taking damage instead of me. That's hilarious from hunger. Alright, back in a minute. So fun fact, I found more draconium ore veins than I have of the dimensional shard ore stuff. But the good news is, I guess, I got some. So I'll take it. Let's see. I need my beef Wellington, because I remember I threw my beef Wellington into a generator, didn't I? Wow, that's pretty nice. Alright, cool. So, one thing I'd like to do from dimensions. So we've got, how much of that stuff? Shard ore, we got 18 of them in total. Nice. So the dimension mod, I'm going to want to create two things. I wouldn't mind some activity probes. We'll probably get to them later. One thing I wouldn't mind is an energy extractor, though. This is actually a really useful device. We're going to need 4 of you guys, and an energy extractor also needs a machine frame. Nice. The reason I want an energy extractor is... Can we get, like, a decent little energy storage device would be cool. The energy extractor, let's get... Should I get a 5 million capacitor bank? That would probably be a good one to get, right? So we're just going to need 4 of you, which is quick to make. Because we're getting close to that wrapping up point, and we do need to wrap up, like, for reals. But, capacitor bank, we'll need a block of redstone. 2, we're halfway there. 3, you can do it. 4, nice. Meant to be a teleport. So let's place this dude here. So he's got that. If we place down our energy extractor, it's really... Does this even work? I thought the energy extractor did what I thought it did. Energy extractor. Cool. It doesn't have a UI, so that's neat. Like if we had a dimension that we didn't want to waste this 3 million RF, and you can see all the attributes if you shift right click. That's kind of cool. Terrain, flooded cavern. Neat. Base block. Block of amethyst. That's cool. Awesome. Yeah, so the energy extractor must be bugged. I'm going to go report that. Because there should be a UI where I can put this thing in and get back my 4 million RF. But for now, I'll just let it sit there. Wrapping up point. Daryl20 signing off. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. We're going to come back next time and create our own custom dimension that will specify some attributes. I'd like to have one where I can get draconium, and I think I can come up with a way to do that. I'd also like to have one where I could maybe get quartz and glowstone, but we'll see. For now, Daryl20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.